Welcome to Sports Close-Up. I'm Ed Marin, along with my co-host Mike Fiorello, and our special guest today is Mr. Dave Kennedy. We're glad to have you aboard, Dave.
Oh, I'll give you.
Good to have you, Dave.
He's basically the voice of the Bulldogs with football, basketball. He does stuff with swimming. How long have you been doing this now? 35 years?
The football is 35 years. The basketball, I think Mr. Hathaway passed in 2013. The swimming is the interesting part.
40?
I became a certified PLAA swimming official in 1976.
I was only 5 years old.
Let's back up for a minute, Dave, and let's tell the viewers, born and raised in Meadville,
Yes.
went to Meadville schools, and tell us about that.
I did grow up in Meadville. As a matter of fact, about 2 blocks from here, down by the footbridge. That's where I grew up. I walked to East End School. I walked to junior high school. I walked to senior high school. Dang, I never got to ride a bus.
And you walked uphill both ways, all three
well,
times, right?
I left Meadville High, and as Mike knows, I was back at Crawford Central in 4 years. I student taught in the spring of '73 for the same fellow that Mike did, Mr. Allegheny. And Mike
He was a great man.
Yep. And I go past his gravestone every day,
Nice.
and I look every day.
Well, I could say, with me growing up here, I had you and your wife as a teacher, and you guys were both phenomenal.
Thank you.
But I had to let them know that, and you're a good teacher.
Well, thank you very much. I think probably like Mike, being that I was in one of those seats once upon a time, I always thought, how would I like it if I was
Right.
in one of those seats? So,
And then you took on all this extracurricular activity, and it just
Did.
boomed from there.
several things. The girls' softball. There was no girls' softball in 1980.
And you
all
started
alone.
that, right?
I started it, and boy, I didn't realize how we were. We didn't have a field. I didn't have an assistant coach. Matter of fact, one of the students, Don Gobbler, who I'll thank the rest of my life, came out of the classroom and helped.
Where did you play your games?
Where the soccer field is at Elder Glen,
Okay.
there was a homemade backstop there.
It was there for a while. And then, didn't they just take it down, or is it still?
It was taken down long ago.
Well, it was long ago, but there was still another stop up there, and that's what I was thinking.
How long did you do softball for?
I started in 1980, and in 1998, when my oldest son got to the point where he was in varsity athletics, I did retire at that time.
Did you get an assistant after a while, or was it just you all that time?
No, after 4 or 5 years, it was sort of a fight to get girls softball because
Sure.
in those days, not all. But yes, I did have some good assistant coaches. Mr. Pat Smith, who happens to be deceased at this time. Marlene Gorley was one.
Pat, former Mr. Big, back in the day.
Yeah.
Marlon Gurley, former athletic director.
Bill A to Z from Cockerton.
Okay, before you got the baseball job there.
Yep, I had good help.
Did you always play there, or did you finally get moved to behind the high school where the boys were playing?
After quite a fight
Sure.
with the city because it was their field, we did move over the dam, Brest, and then subsequently 2 fields were built so we could play varsity and JV. And when I retired shortly after, somehow, some way, those fields were taken down, and I think that now the softball is being played up on State Road Hill at the Little League facility, which is fine.
Yeah, those fields stayed there for a few years after you left, because my daughter played there, and then they were taken down. So you coached girls softball for 18 years.
Yes. And let me say,
Tell me how the program got better and how it grew in those times.
the way that we achieved success was I put myself on the Meadville Little League board. And of course, they didn't have any girls softball either.
Exactly, I remember
So
that.
what we did, we incepted girls softball. So I think it's Meadville area youth baseball and softball.
Yes.
And that's how it is today.
And Bill Dithridge was a big factor, because his daughter played softball, correct?
Yes. Becky did play for us.
Yeah, and he helped push that a little bit, I think.
You talk about a fellow who deserves a lot more
Yes.
than he gets. Bill Dithridge, I'd go to bat for Bill anytime. He's
I
a
agree.
wonderful man. He really is.
It's funny you said that, because I remember probably towards the end of your reign, my daughter's getting involved in softball, and I was always upset that their uniforms or their equipment was less than best. And then Bill one time said, well, if you want to make a change, get on the board. So I got on the board, and with his help, we were able to upgrade girls softball at the lower level. But you had some good players in your reign there, weren't you? If you can mention a few, you haven't forgot.
I suppose the premier player was Tiva Eiler, who
Yep.
went on to play at Allegheny. Gilly Ford, her name was Gilly Franco back then.
Yes, Gilly
To
Franco.
give you another one is Kristen Templin, Kristen Swen, and a great player.
Now, you're a father of 3 guys, 3
Yes.
boys. And I have 2 girls, so I can relate to this. Coaching girls is awesome, but it's a little different, correct?
Quite different. You learn real quick that if you pick on one of them the wrong way, the others gang up on you. So, yeah. And there's just certain things that the girls have to trust to say, I'm not with it today, quote, and I have to understand. What's a little disappointing is that even to this day, Harbor Creek has the premier softball program in Northwest Pennsylvania. Never, ever won a District 10 championship. We would get to the final game, and they were just better than us.
But they always had, you know, in softball, they did outstanding pitching. They always had great pitching in Harbor Creek and still
Yes, they
do to
did.
this day.
Yep, they had a coach named Bob Kenny, and I
Yeah.
think he may be deceased now, but he really helped them out. Corey now has a nice
Yes,
program.
I was just going to say.
They have a turf field for
Yeah.
softball.
Yeah, which
Wow.
is amazing. What made you decide to retire from softball? Other interest and other things? And
Well, when my oldest son got to 9th grade,
Mm-hmm.
I guess it was 10th grade maybe, I decided I'd probably better get out of that. And I went to track and field, and I was very pleased to coach two of my 3 children. Matt played baseball, but both Mike and Nick did throw the javelin collegiately as a result of our program here.
I know Mike was at Pitt. Where did Nick go?
He went to Slippery Rock,
Okay.
and they both did very well. They both advanced to the national championships.
Wow.
I just puff out my chest.
Sure. Sure, you should.
The only problem was with Mike in the Big East. I was only able to catch maybe
Right.
1 meet a year
For the travel, yeah.
But what an opportunity to travel up and down the East Coast. You throw the
Right.
javelin for a half an hour, and
Now, don't you help with the track and field also?
That's what you said, yeah.
I mean, how long?
a number of years ago, probably 5 years ago, the powers that be said that each of the major varsity sports had to drop a coach.
Why?
I don't know why. And,
I think we need all the coaching we
yeah.
can get for our young
I
kids. Not
don't-
only just in the sport itself, there, but you being a fellow educator knows it's important just to relate to kids.
I don't exactly know why, but I decided that let the younger people carry on. I still run. I can still coach. If anybody out there
I
wants
do
to,
see you running down North Street sometimes.
yeah, every morning, well, every other morning. But I tell your viewing audience, if you want me to train somebody to a half or a full marathon, I can do it pretty easy.
You know, Dad, I want to take a trip back to memory lane because I remember when I first started teaching there, you'd been there a few years. And I was
1 year.
Okay, when I was looking at our old junior high yearbooks the other day, and I didn't realize how young that staff was. With Mr. Lascola, who was a young man as principal at that time. We were so young, and we were dealing with 12 and 13-year-olds who thought we were so old.
But we thought you were old.
I know. And we used to, remember, we used to play the kids in sports,
Yeah,
which
basketball
was great.
and such, yeah.
You know, I used to fill the junior high at nighttime, have those games.
We had donkey basketball.
Yeah.
And
The fun we had.
I'd tell anybody, I'd tell people to this day, you learn to teach in middle or junior high school.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you don't make it.
That's
And
right.
For both you and I, it was a great training,
It was.
2 or 3 years at the junior
this-
high, and then
this-
moved to senior high.
Despite us wearing plaid pants and all those outfits back then.
You were known for that.
Well, I was going to bring our yearbook in.
You should have.
Dave had some pictures back in the day too, but you know the thing was, we had fun.
We did.
You know, as I don't know, if educators have a chance to have as much fun as we had.
Yeah, that's correct, because your room was right next to mine, and but we were raw. I mean, I was only 22 years old. I don't know how old you were.
Oh yeah,
I
same,
didn't know any
same.
different.
No, but I always tell people this: we had a great leader in Jim Lascola.
Yes, we did.
He was outstanding
He,
with us.
he was my history teacher in 12th grade, and probably why I went into teaching.
Yeah. No, we had a great mentor, John Allegretti, as you said. So then you went to the high school, and at the junior high, if I'm not mistaken, you taught 9th grade history, if I'm not mistaken, correct? Did you start the law class at the junior high too? I know you started at the high school level.
I believe it was high school level was when I
Okay.
started, and it was a very dynamic thing because I was given a lot of latitude.
How long did you have that class? For a long time, right?
Oh gosh,
that
it was
like
probably 20 years.
And you had a lot of famous people as guest speakers come in.
Every Wednesday, I would have somebody into my classroom, and the rule was, in that 42 minutes, they could speak for only 10 minutes. The rest of the time, they had to either interact with the students or demonstrate something or get the students to do something. And never ever would I want any of my children or grandchildren to sit for 42 minutes while somebody from the outside talks.
Right.
But we had wonderful people. As a matter of fact, I happened to get the state police helicopter, if you remember.
Yes.
Landed right in the middle of the track.
Wow.
Yep.
I remember, back in the day, one of my favorite people you brought in was Don Lewis.
Oh yes.
Talk about interacting with kids.
I had to put 2 classes together in the band room for Don Lewis.
Yeah.
This guy is so sharp
Exactly.
that while he's talking to these young people, he's asking them their questions, and they have to give their name first.
Yeah.
He, at the end of maybe 50 or 55 minutes of this interaction, could name every one of those kids
Yeah. It was amazing.
while he was talking.
He was amazing.
Yes,
No
he
doubt
was.
about that. Other great speakers that were amazing. Student council. How long were you a student council person?
I
here?
started that in 1980. I was thinking of that the other day. and it
You,
was a
you
beautiful
started
thing.
student council here.
Well, no, it
You-
was.
Okay, but you became the.
I became the advisor in
how,
1980.
for at least what? 25, 30 years?
Well, from 1980 to 2008.
Yeah.
I'm not real good at math. That's why I became a history teacher.
Oh,
but-
28 years. And student council, one of the things you always tried to stress, though, and it's a tribute to you, because sometimes student council, people expect them to do like run dances, this and that, but you wanted to concentrate kids learning about government, correct, and how to run meetings.
How to run meetings properly with parliamentary procedure. That's correct. And I mandated that we had a meeting every other Wednesday, and that other Wednesday, my officers had to sit down and they had to create an agenda, and they all had to agree on this agenda, because my feeling was the governor runs the meeting. The vice governor, the secretary, the treasurer basically sit there, because this has already been talked about. Now it's the representatives out in the classroom that interact, and we had our meetings, if you remember, in the morning, 7:30.
Which I think is pretty cool.
It was cool because I found people who wanted to do it,
Right.
and not just an activity, and they were there. And the meeting, because of the agenda, the meeting never lasted any more than 15, 20 minutes. And as we know, after about 20 minutes, any meeting sort of goes south.
Any meeting. I mean, if you're the ones we attended as professionals.
I won't say anything about in service days.
Let's one thing I didn't realize, Dave, and looking in the paper when the Tribune just did a nice little thing about you, which was started on the front page, I didn't realize before you started football announcing, you're actually doing stats in the press box.
I was.
Explain that.
I guess I liked to be involved, and I sat in the press box and did yardage. And I thought Ken Achenbaugh was just a great guy. I really,
yeah.
because we were teaching with him.
Sure.
And it was a nice, warm, dry seat. Although the press box in those days, you were never blessed to see that.
We're blessed now, aren't we?
Oh, we sure are,
Yeah.
but you should have seen the
Oh,
old
I
one.
remember that one.
But I just like to be involved.
And then, you remember who did that before you stepped in?
I think it was Zane Nozzikoff. and
Okay.
I still see Zane.
Yeah, he's
getting a
great
little
guy.
older.
He was down there as you and I started teaching, also at the junior high. Okay, so then Zane, I think he became AD or something, and you step in at that time.
Early on, Zane was the AD, wasn't
Right. So then you step in, and what do you like about doing that? And you went through it, not only a new press box, but you have a better sound system now.
Oh,
too.
yes. I guess I like to see if I can attain the perfect game. It's like you fellas. We make mistakes. Nobody knows it but us. So every once in a while, I do have the perfect game. And sometimes I don't, and I don't get past the original introductions. But
I mean, you've done a lot of games, even
Oh,
with
yes.
playoffs
Yeah.
that come
Playoffs,
through.
too.
Did you used to do anything with like little gritters also? Did you announce that?
You know,
once
I
in a
never
while?
did, only because I found that between soccer and football, 7th grade football, 8th grade football,
Yeah.
9th grade, I was down there enough. And Saturday mornings, I like to play
So
golf,
you
actually.
started out doing football. Then Meadville starts getting soccer. You didn't have soccer when you first started, then you went into doing soccer.
Correct.
Okay, you do soccer playoffs, you do football playoffs, but tell people, I think some people have, and we know it's different because we're there watching you, but some people think you just show up and boom, you just do the game. There's a lot of prep work, isn't there?
I take pride in contacting athletic directors and sports information directors to get pronunciations right. And I even spell it out phonetically in front of me. It's just, again, that's the way things should be done.
Right.
And I practice. And if I'm not at a game a half an hour before the game, I'm very uncomfortable. That's it.
Because
Tell
you're
'em-
usually there when we're there, and we're
Oh,
there
yeah.
usually
Yes.
about an hour and a half
And
before.
tell them too, you're also prep on senior nights. You make sure you get the little kids write out a little paragraph and you kind of make it down so it's not going to be 2 hours long, but you get the highlights what they want.
Football senior nights, they give it to somebody new every year, and they're all nervous. So I call them aside and I say, just take it easy. I'll tell you exactly what to do. I've done it before. And it works out very well.
But you're not just doing football players, you do cheerleaders and band members now.
That's correct. And
Which is a lot this year. Remember how long that was?
It was.
but we got through it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and by the way, with our new stream system, we have you hooked right into that too, and you know, it came out really well with you doing it all.
It's something nice when Mike asked me to, be his broadcast partner, with the radio and now with Stream TV also. It was nice because it brought back memories of when I was in school with you announcing football. So sometimes it goes like through my head and it's,
When did you start doing Allegheny basketball?
The year before I retired, and don't ask me how it all got started because I can't figure it out. Evidently, maybe I just volunteered or something. I do have to say that basketball, I get a little pumped up in basketball because I'm amidst the crowd and
Yeah.
I feed off of them and they
Right.
feed off of me. Football, you're insulated up in the
Right.
press box.
That's
we
right.
do get more excited on the
Basketball tickets are on the floors.
We're on the floor.
Now, Gator games, you've been there for a while. You still get excited doing the Gator games again, work on pronunciation for home and away
Oh,
teams.
yes.
You do girls too?
Girls do as well. And some of the pronunciations for it, it's like Kenyon was in the other night, and they had several players from, two from Afghanistan,
Oh, wow.
one Kazakhstan, and of course what I did
Well, at
is I
least-
went over and phonetically figured it out.
It's nice that you can actually look on Google and it'll help you.
Yep.
Nowadays, but back then, you really had to put all the work into it. People don't see that.
But sports information directors are very, very handy, and they're nice folks.
High school here at Meadville, Jim Hathaway was the voice of the Bulldogs PA for a long time, but you did the book, right? Or the clock.
Well, I started with the book back
Okay,
in the
that's what-
mid-'80s.
That's what I thought.
And
And
that
that's
was-
when they had those slam dunk teams, the slam
That's
dunks,
exactly
you
what I
were
was
doing a
telling
book,
you.
right?
And I was like a tour guide. If you remember, we played at the Pitt Field
Yes.
House, and we went down to Hollidaysburg,
Yep.
and I was in the front of the bus, and I would tell the bus driver where to go, where to park. Loved every minute of it. That was doing the book. And then all of a sudden, I moved over to the clock because Mr. Dave Burke retired.
Right.
And then when Mr. Hathaway, I just went from the book to the clock to the microphone.
Clock was different than this one here,
A little bit different.
but you have to educate yourself, read a manual, how'd you learn how to do a clock? Because in basketball too, you gotta be paying attention doing that clock,
You think?
right? Yeah.
Every once in a while, when I don't turn the clock on or don't turn it off, there's nowhere to hide.
Right.
Because people remind me,
Yeah.
and sometimes not to real kind like. But I try my best.
Now, did you do freshman and all that too, the
No.
clock, or just varsity JV?
Just JV and varsity is
Okay.
fine. But yeah, there's nowhere to hide when I make a mistake. Sometimes people catch the mistake.
Yeah. What
So-
made you get into be a PIAA official for
That's
swimming?
kind of interesting.
That's a good
It's a
question.
good story too.
Swimming.
When I was in high school, I was a swimmer and a diver. And I believe that they needed a swim coach to coach with my old coach, Joan Conley. And not only, of course, was I well qualified to teach history, but they needed a swimming coach. So I did coach swimming for 2 years.
Okay, I didn't know that.
But God bless Joan, she never, and I love her to this day, she had a hard time differentiating between me as a former swimmer and an assistant coach. And so between that and grad school, I decided I'd walk away from that, but I took the PLAA test.
So you've been, and there's not many people that officiate swimming, correct? Did you work with your dad too? Your dad was,
yeah,
right?
My dad did it for many years, yep.
Was that an enjoyment for you to work with your
Oh,
dad?
sure. Swimming is
Something-
such an honorable sport. I mean, nobody complains because basically It's timing, it's touch timing. Now, there are stroke violations, but I do not look for violations. If they happen to appear in front of me, I call them. There are some referees, including basketball, who I think they're looking for violations, and that's not the right thing. When it happens, you call it.
Right.
And so it's sad. I mean, some poor kid
So
swims
like,
500
so like being a
yards.
good teacher, don't look for trouble. It's going to
That's
come
right.
anyway, right?
And give everybody an option.
Yeah. Now let's talk about your long career as officiating, swimming. I know you've done a lot of Meadville meets. Have you done some district meets and so forth?
I've been offered to do district meets, but it tends to come during the PLAA basketball.
It would, yeah.
And I've been asked to do these PLAA games because I think that Mr. Frasina trusts me, and that's an honor. That's a compliment.
I'm laughing because one Saturday for Armstrong, Ed and I did a girls 4 games in a row. Remember, Ed?
3 games, yeah.
Three or 4. We were tired. You've done that many years. You get tired after a while. I mean, game after game after game.
Get
It might
a little
not look
punchy.
tiring, but mentally.
Well, there's 4
it
games
is,
in
yeah.
a row
Right.
in Allegheny each year to
Okay.
start off the season. So
Their
I kinda-
tip-off or whatever.
Yes, but you're right. I think sometimes there are 3 or 4 basketball games, and you just have to be ready for it. I'm in pretty good shape. I still work out in the mornings and such.
As we get older, one of the things I like about doing is I think it helps me keep my mind sharp a little bit. You find that to be true too?
Absolutely, yes, yes. And that again is the preparation that I make sure I do before I go into a game. Now, there's girls basketball tonight, and as soon as I get the roster, I will go down to an assistant coach and say, I'd like to know more about the pronunciation.
Looking long term, maybe you haven't thought about, would you like to do this 5 more years, 8 more years? How much longer do you want to keep doing Meadville football and basketball, God willing?
I really don't have a terminal date. I think if anything goes, it would be girls basketball, not because I don't like it, but it just might give me another night
Sure.
just to enjoy the grandchildren.
Right.
I have.
How many do you have?
We have 5 and
Wow.
one in the oven.
Nice.
But Chay's in 8th grade, soon to be in 9th.
Wow.
She does volleyball. And
Yeah.
Jaden's in 5th.
That's Michael's
'Cause
oldest.
you're
right?
really involved in them, as I see on Facebook.
I want to be,
and
yep.
That's Michael's oldest daughter, correct?
Michael's oldest daughter is
Yeah.
Chay, and my grandson Cameron lives in Youngstown.
Okay.
But we have, Nick and Danielle have a little girl named Palmer, and Danielle brought a little guy with her who we've more or less,
Sure.
I call him my grandson,
Sure.
he calls me grandpa. And then here, last week, they announced that they're gonna have another one, so.
That's awesome. Congratulations, by the
Thank
way.
you.
One cool thing you guys did, and had this for a long time, and people don't know this, Dave's sons are Michael, Matt, and Nick.
Yeah.
And forever, if you get behind Dave driving, you'll see the license plate, M and N, correct?
Dash Sons.
Yes, which
Yeah.
I think was awesome that you did that, and that tells people and tells me how important family is to you.
That's right, and that's my wife's vehicle, so
Okay.
watch out.
Still,
She's a good driver.
but both of you, how important family is to both of you.
That's right. And it's just like when Danielle married Nick, she had a son that she brought with her, and I love him
Sure.
just as much as the rest
Sure.
of them. Yep.
Why not? Talking about that, your coaching, your classroom, you did, how many years did you teach?
35.
35 years, okay. Do you still see people say, Mr. Kennedy, how you doing, that you might have had 20 years ago? I know now, Dave, sometimes I'll say, I don't know the person's name, but they know yours, and you're trying to search who
It
they
is a
are.
game, and sometimes you're wrong. And talking about that, this morning, I'm having coffee out to the Vernon Y, and a young man comes by and he says, I'll never forget when you swam Rat Lake. I'll never forget.
That's right, you did. It's okay. I've done that myself.
Yeah,
so.
what happens is that I told the kids that if they won so many games in the season, I would swim Rat Lake. Well, I got out there about 5 minutes before school let out. And now I'm coming across the lake, and Mrs. Dixon, Dr. Dixon, was the principal. She let everybody out of school.
To watch.
They're all up on the dam breast, hooting and hollering. So without thinking, I went and on my back, and I got some lake water, and I spit it up in the air. Well, the Tribune photographer caught it perfect.
Oh, wow.
And it got in the paper.
Like a whale type thing.
Yeah, like a spout.
Yeah.
Well, even worse, not worse, even better, it got into the military newspaper. And the military newspapers all over the world.
Oh,
I had
wow.
kids writing me from Korea and like South Africa and all these places. And to this day, I've looked for the picture and I can't find it.
Another thrill you've had. We did a show on this, but I don't want to forget about this, the torch. Tell me about that.
In 1996, the United Way sponsored what they called the Olympic Torch Relay. And the relay, of course, started in Athens, Greece, but when it got to Los Angeles, it wound its way through the United States. Some people, I carried it and ran. Some people had it on a bicycle. Some people rode a horse. Some people rode a train. But when it got to Crawford County, and I had been nominated by the United Way and selected, probably for civic engagement. But it was quite a ride, and the thing I remember is that I reported up to Route 5 in Erie, 2 miles out of town, and somebody was coming towards me to light my torch. We all had our own torches. And so for some reason I asked the people involved, I said, well, what if the person who I'm supposed to light isn't there?
That's a good question.
They said, keep running. He wasn't there, or she wasn't there.
You had to keep running.
So it's a good thing back then. I was
Yeah.
doing marathons and triathlons.
Right.
Now I ran the other mile, and I turned the corner, and I was at Perry Square in Erie,
Wow,
and I
yeah.
had no idea that there were several thousand
Yeah.
people there, and I was a little late. And it was like this little tunnel through these people to this stage, and the stage had steps. And all I could think about,
drop the torch,
don't
right?
trip going upstairs.
What was that like? That'd be
It
a
was-
thrill, right?
It was quite a thrill. I had an
I'm sure the
FBI
Mayor
agent.
Meadville must have been there.
oh,
Mayor Veery,
yeah.
must have been there.
I had an FBI agent on the back of my pants,
Wow.
guiding me through because they were even
Sure.
then were. And then there was a motorcycle in front of me with a TV guy looking at me with a big bright light.
You're trying to blur you, you can't see.
And then going through the crowd, people are starting to
Sure.
grab me.
Yeah.
And it's strange to it. But it was quite an honor to do that. And if anybody would like to see this torch, I do have it permanently displayed at the YMCA.
Yeah, which was nice of you to do that too. You had it at the school for a long time.
Yes.
The high school, if you walked into the high school, you could see it displayed, which was really nice of you to do that too.
And
The
I
kids
took it
got
to
see
elementary
that.
schools too.
Yeah. Yeah, you did a little presentation.
It was,
and so
it was
forth.
quite a nice thing that they honored me with.
Yeah. So, is there, I know you talked about a few things, but I'm going to ask you myself too. You've seen a lot of great athletes come through this building. When you were a student, when you were a teacher, PA announcer and everything. Meadville's had a lot of great athletes, haven't they, Mr. Kennedy?
I think we have one right now. This Davion Butler, I
Yeah.
will tell the viewing audience, if you want to see an exciting player, and there are several on the team, but this young man is about as quick with a wide wingspan.
I agree, but one of the things I'm alluding to with this, and I talked about this too, I think Crawford Central and Meadville needs to take a look at someday establishing a Hall of Fame.
Oh, yes.
Because I'm not just talking
Yeah.
football and basketball, I'm talking all the sports, swimming, wrestling, cross country, softball, baseball. We've had tremendous athletes. We have one that's an offense coordinator now for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Sure.
Journey Brown doing great things at Penn State, but other people, other athletes, and you've seen a ton of them, Dave. There's been great athletes come through this building.
I thought there was something started a couple of years ago.
They were going to, and it fizzled out.
Fizzled,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
I mean, just thinking, what we could do with it, with having a Hall of Fame up here.
And it's just maybe
Not just players, I mean coaches,
Sure.
contributors.
and have it extra special, like
Yes.
maybe 2 people each year.
Yeah, maybe start
You
the
would
first
probably
year
have to, for first couple years,
maybe
probably first
at least
2 or 3
10 the
years,
first
yeah,
year.
you have to
because
have
you're
one.
going back to the 50s.
Yeah.
But yeah, so in that regard, I'm going to put you on the spot. Give me 3 of the top 5 basketball players you've seen as a kid,
Yeah.
to a teacher, to an announcer here at Meadville's.
I don't know about a kid because I remember when I was in high school, I just was not socially mature. I don't exactly know what I was doing. I was just a little bit of a mess. I think there's a young man who is still in town. His name was Mike Lucas.
Yep.
And he wasn't real tall.
I just saw him yesterday.
He was
And
fast.
I said, I think you're top 5 in point guard.
Is that right?
No,
He
there's
said?
no way.
And
I'm like, yeah.
of course, Michael Burnett. And Journey played a little basketball, but
Right.
I want Davey on that. Now in football, boy, the Fichtners were really
Do
awesome.
you remember, I
athletes.
tell people this game day, do you remember when Randy was playing for Meadville and Flickner was playing for Warren? I don't know if you remember this
Yes.
game. They kicked off to us, Randy ran one back 90. We kicked off to them, Flickner one back 90. They kicked off, Randy ran one back. We kicked off, Flickner ran another one back. Both teams squib kicked the rest of the game.
That's funny. I thought about that name in a long, long time, but yeah. And you think of the old Bender Field when it was,
Oh,
and
the
you
whole
know,
middle
talking
was
about
mud.
when I first started coaching track and field, that was
That was the track, the
that
cinder
was
track.
cinder track. And
Yes.
it was not 400 meters.
No.
It was like 320. I don't think we had any home meets.
No, you didn't.
but we
And you had some at Allegheny because of that.
Or
The home
later
meet-
on.
Yeah, later on. So everything was on the road before that.
But practices, yeah,
And you still had
not
some
bad.
pretty good athletes come out of
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
You-
I thought I forgot all about that.
And you talk about running. Look at the phenomenal cross-country runs we've had come out of this building.
Well, Chuck Jones is another one he's very well established and very well respected. I'll see it. And Kenny Achenbach. I mean,
Yep.
when my son was playing football, in those 3 years, I'm not sure they won more than 4 or 5 games. But he learned a lot from a guy named Ken Achenbach.
Yeah, you learn more than just winning or losing a game. You teach a lot more if you're a coach that really cares about the kids you have in front of you. And what made you a good teacher?
I think that, again, I wanted to make sure that the students enjoyed the class because, once again, I actually went to this school. I was in one of those seats. It's the preparation, the planning and preparation. I don't know if you remember, but I used to have a big wooden P cut out of corkboard in the back of my room. It was hanging back there. And the students at first would say, "What's that P for?" Planning, perfection, preparation. And even my own children got tired of me saying, "You didn't prepare. You didn't plan." And I did. I probably shouldn't say this, but I would come in on Sunday mornings because the custodian was kind of my friend. And that's when I would grade AP essays.
Sure.
Because I was all alone and I could focus. And it gave me time during the week to be with kids. That's what I wanted to do. At 7:30 every morning, I was with children, with kids, because I had got there probably at 6:30,
Right.
planned my day. It's a ball.
So what you're saying, I think, too, is you wanted kids to be excited about coming to your class, not dreading it. And I think sometimes educators don't understand that. Anybody can make kids dread coming to your class. It takes a lot of hard work to make kids be excited, especially at this age, 15, 16, 17, 14-year-olds. You know, they want to be entertained, but you still have to do it where they're going to learn and think for themselves and be prepared, like you said. And you taught those AP courses, so you got to make sure they know how to write well.
The AP instruction, and any AP teacher has his or her work cut out because some of them are so driven that that's all they want to do is to study and read. And I tell them, back off a little bit. You know, I taught 11th grade American history, and many, many times it was the first C or maybe the first B that they had ever got in their life. And I had to bring them aside, and I said, "I'll call your mom and dad. I don't want you to get in trouble here. This is academically rigorous, and we want it that way. If you don't think you like it, there's always the normal American history." And with the national exam in May, I felt I was obligated to keep it academically rigorous. Yeah. Of course, I worked at it too, but boy, I learned a lot of history.
Well, you know, it's interesting you said that because you also had your own kids. And if I'm not mistaken, you know, I used to tell parents, and I still tell some parents of kids, kids don't need to take 4 AP classes because you have no life as a kid. Especially if you're playing a sport. You know this, Dave, you have a ton of work to do at home too. It's okay to take a track 1 or a track 2 class. You're still going to go to college and be successful.
I think if you're good in the maths and sciences, stick with that. If you're good in the social studies and Englishes, stick with that. I happen to be, and probably you too, we were better in the social studies and English
Yeah, I'm still
than we were.
not.
No,
To me, today, algebra is still a foreign language.
no. I'm in the little brother, big brother program, and my little brother is a 7th grader, and he's got this algebra, and I'm supposed to help him with algebra. I try. So that's a wonderful thing that I'm doing right now. It's a good feeling.
Interesting you said that you're doing that now. So you always come across to me as a person that likes to give back to the community.
I think you're obligated.
But not everybody does. But I think this community means a lot to you. You were born and raised here. You've been a Meadville person forever. What do you like about Meadville so much?
I just think it's a nice small town, and it's people like you two and Kevin, and people are nice.
Yeah, I don't know about Kevin, us too.
I would see him down, Mike, I would see him down at the Diamond. Always has a book in his hand.
I do
He'd
read
go
in
to the
Diamond.
library, he would sit down in the Diamond, read a book, come over and talk to me when I was doing that other job. You know, so he was, basically, I would see him probably once or twice a week.
I don't like to sit at home. I like to get out, and I do a little volunteering down to the senior center if they need some meals delivered. As a matter of fact, this is crazy. I get up every day thinking to myself, who can I be nice to, or who can I help first off today? And it doesn't take long, and it makes you feel good.
You also have helped out in your church. I know that firsthand.
Yep.
You're a reader still?
Yes, I am. And then that's a nice challenge too, to get up in front of the congregation.
I couldn't do it.
Oh, I think oh, yeah.
I would imagine you practice those. When I look at some of
yeah.
those readings, well, I don't know how Dave gets through them.
No, we have a workbook, and oh yes, I would never go up there without being prepared. As a matter of fact, when I do get to Mass, you'll see me go up and make sure the right page is there.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
No, I'm going to have everything going right.
And you've been doing that for a while also.
Yes, I don't know how long I've been doing that.
At least 10 years, at least,
I
maybe
believe.
longer.
And each church is a little different, and it's a good challenge. I like to meet challenges.
That's good.
I'm trying to think of other things we haven't. Oh yeah, what is giving you the greatest satisfaction about being a parent?
I guess it's probably like you and me, and it soon will be Ed. I didn't get any kind of instruction as to, think about it, nobody gets instruction as to how to be a parent.
You gotta go by
and
it.
what's your number one job in life? We go to school 4 years to be a teacher and 2 more years for others' children. But somehow you did it. You got 2 girls right through high school, right through college. Somehow I got 3 boys through high school, 3 boys through college, and now I didn't know I could do this.
Well, I know
It's-
two of the 3.
Yeah.
I know that they're, very
Good guys,
respectful,
yeah.
really good guys.
When
It'll
you
happen to you too. You'll do it.
when you see your kids now with their families, do they ever say, "Gee, Dad, I didn't realize it was like this when I was on the other side"?
Well, Mike has 2 daughters.
Right.
And he is really.
He's up in Erie. He was up in Erie yesterday. He's like, "Oh man, I got to go up there for
Yeah.
dance or
It's a
gymnastics or
little
whatever."
different,
And I'm like, "Man, you're constantly running around." He goes, "Oh
Well,
yeah."
here this summer in August, Patty and I took the 3 boys, their wives, and their children on a cruise.
Yes, I remember that.
And
Great.
I
that
saw the
was the
pictures.
ultimate, to get them all together, and just, we had fun for 10 days.
What lifetime memories you made.
Oh yeah, that's a lifetime memory.
Yeah.
And of course, well, all of us here, when your children are born, if a guy doesn't have a tear in his eye,
That's right.
he's not a true man.
You're exactly
that's
right.
it.
You're
That's
right.
so a wonderful thing, and you really have to give credit to your wife because she goes through quite a little bit.
You know, it's interesting. I was thinking the other day, Dave, we started out when we were 22 years old at the junior high,
Unmarried.
unmarried. And I might have been good at that time, but there were some wild parties we had then too. But I'm thinking how fast it went. It's like a blur. And when your young people tell you that, and you're like, yeah, okay, whatever. How true that is.
It sure is, and I don't know. These young people probably look at me and you. Those are old fellas.
That's right.
Because we got that red, white, and blue card. You're not there yet.
And there was a couple
Soon.
teachers when we started that were like that. 'Cause I remember going, and they used to have smoking and non-smoking
Yeah,
lunch. I remember going in, and seeing someone who's like, oh, yeah, I've been here 30-something years. And I say, oh my God, you here 30 years? I'm like, you gotta be kidding me.
And some of those people we started out with, you take Mr. Nozzikoff.
Yeah.
I mean, I was scared to death of the guy because just a few years before that, you know, and he's still around. Believe it or not, Mr. Bloom was my elementary principal
Holy
at East End. And it was 2 years ago at church, they had me introducing the seniors. I said, this is not in the script, but I want Fred Bloom and his wife to stand up. And it was awesome. Joan was the nurse,
Right.
Fred, 1962.
See, that's interesting
Wow.
because you had, like Jim Lascoli, was he a history teacher at the high school when you were here?
Sure, he was my history teacher,
Yeah.
and that's why I became a teacher.
Yeah, and then he becomes your principal. I mean, you worked with him, but he was our principal.
Well, the same thing happened to you. I mean, you were teaching, and I was teaching with older, more well-established people. And, you know, there were some teachers I was a little afraid of, even as a teacher, because I think some of them weren't very nice.
I tell you, what made me nervous when I first started teaching was our boss. Because Jim was a big guy.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember
I liked
No
him as a
nonsense.
principal.
Oh, he was a great guy, but we used to laugh because, and I don't know if you remember this, Dave, if the Steelers lost on Sunday, Monday morning he was a little grumpy.
Yeah.
'Cause to this day, he's devoted 100% Steeler fan.
And rightly, he has his name on that building down there.
Yes.
And it would not have been for him, in the impetus, I don't think we would have had.
I also like the idea to put Jack Howland's name up there. Jack was a good soul, good person for
I
me.
have a picture of me at about 8 years old being taught how to throw a baseball pitch by Jack Howland.
Wow.
Because his family and my family used to vacation together up in Northeast PA.
Okay.
Yep, and yeah, I still go
So
by.
then you were friends with Mike and them.
Oh, yes.
So,
Mhm.
Okay.
Very much. And
Yeah.
he is interred at our cemetery too.
Right.
So, yeah,
Right.
good guy.
Good guy. Yes, he is. Well, Dave, thank you for giving us a few minutes going through things that you've accomplished and given to the Meadville community. You're a treasure in Meadville.
Well, thank you.
You really are. Right, Ed? I mean, he's a treasure. He's given so much time and effort into this community. You still get enjoyment calling kids games. You know, you talked about Davion, which is a contemporary player, but you go way back to everybody. I used to enjoy when our teaching buddy, Pat Smith, used to do Mr. Big.
Yep.
And I remember Jim Hathaway.
He was an
would fall-
assistant coach too
Yeah.
for softball.
And Jim
yeah.
Hathaway would be the nun or
The
something.
nun, yeah,
back in
and
the
put a
80s.
rose on that
Yeah.
guy's seat.
You know, and
And,
still today,
yeah.
though, we all want to be proud. Right, Ed?
And-
Every sport.
You're right.
I
You're
guess I live, when my dad and mom were alive, I always said to myself, I never want to embarrass my dad and mom. Now, I live every day saying, be careful, don't mess up because of my sons, but also you can have 40 or 50 years of the best effort, the best behavior, but there's that Woody Hayes syndrome.
You're exactly right.
Woody Hayes was a great coach,
Great guy.
but what do we remember him for?
The Clemson game when
He
he tried to
tripped.
strip that player in
Yeah.
the bowl game.
Not all the good stuff. So, and especially about my 34th or 35th year of teaching, and maybe you too, I'm saying, don't make a mistake because that's all they're going to remember.
You're right.
But
You're
thank
right.
you for the
Well,
compliment.
thank you. And for Ed, Dave, this is Mike saying thanks for watching Sports Close Up on Armstrong.